of the year 2023. Welcome to Own It. Welcome to your featured hour that happens with me, that Cuban girl, every single Tuesday, exclusive on the live streaming platform at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time. So without further ado, let's go to video intro and shout out to my amazing admin, Emoji J. Thank you so much, Emoji J, for that amazing video intro. And if anybody here is interested in being a guest on my show in the future weeks, in the upcoming weeks, please make sure you hit up Emoji J and let him know, okay? Thank you. If you guys are just tuning in right now, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Own It. This is your favorite, I know I'm biased, your favorite featured hour of the week, okay? I am manifesting it. And this is Own It with me, that Cuban girl, exclusively here on the live streaming platform every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time. So Own It, it's Cicely, and I go by that Cuban girl. And a little bit about me and why I do this show is that I have been in the entertainment industry for the last 10 years. I have modeled. I am currently a ring girl for boxing. I am a host. I have a upcoming show on the PBS network at the end of this year, 2023, coming out. And I do a little bit of everything. I have dabbled in acting. And, after being in the entertainment for so long, I have come to realize that my true passion is this: hosting and just, having a talk show and just bringing people together, basically just building a community and building just positivity and inspiration. So what I am doing with Own It here on the Meet Me platform is I am bringing all of my experience and skills and knowledge from the entertainment world into here to you, whether you're a streamer or you're not a streamer, it doesn't matter. My intention with the show is that you leave this featured hour with a little bit of more inspiration, but above all, becoming the best version of yourself, listening to my guests' stories, struggles, ways that have been able to come up and kind of beat their struggles, right? And be here with us today. And so my intention with Own It is that we can all end up owning who we are. Like, ultimately, the beauty of who we are is owning who we are. It doesn't matter how messy it is, how flawed we are. None of that matters if we own it and truly own who we are. So today I'm really excited because my two guests are two very special people that I have had the pleasure of talking to before my show was featured. So before my show was featured, they were kind enough to lend me their time to help me in the running of the show leading up to them being featured. And these are two very special men because one is a father, the other one is a streamer, has been a streamer for 5 years, I believe. And one thing they have in common is they're both on the spectrum, and they're both very proud of that because they have learned how to own that part of who they are, that part that makes them different, but at the same time makes them so, so special. So one of them is Papa Bear, whom you may know. He does streaming. He streams here. He does music. He's also very inspirational. He's also a father. He also has a child on the spectrum as well. And my other guest is Dar, aka Mr. 515. And I have had the pleasure of interacting with both of them for months now. They're both beautiful, wonderful people, and I'm so grateful to have them both on the show today. I believe that the mission of Own It is to show everybody at home that we can be different, and we can also be streamers. We can be different, and we can be online or public figures. Ultimately, we can be whoever we want to be as long as we truly own who we are. We can all make mistakes. It doesn't matter as long as we own it, and we make the best out of that. So for me, that is the most important part about this show, is to be able to have these conversations, to bring these conversations to you so you can become the best version of yourself. And if you cannot relate to who I am and my story, maybe you can relate to my guests. I have somebody asking what's the show about. And like I have said previously, if you're just tuning into the show, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Own It with That Cuban Girl. I am a former Miss Cuba. I am a model. I am a ring girl for boxing. I'm a TV host. And basically, my intention with Own It is to help you become the best version of yourself. I bring tips and tools to you that I have learned from the entertainment industry, and we can all own who we are and become better versions of ourselves. So, couple of announcements and reminders before we go on with the show, okay? And thank you for being here. I see all the gives, all the hearts, all the comments. Please do interact in the comments, because ultimately I read them all. And if you are immersed in the conversation, I can take your questions at the end, and we can all interact with each other. Ultimately, that is the goal of the show. Okay. Couple of reminders, please. This is a feature show, so please be respectful of myself, of the chat, of the guests. Second reminder, please make sure you favorite both of my guests, because they are amazing streamers, and I want you guys to be able to connect with them, whether it's here on the app or outside on other like social media platforms. Okay, make sure you show them love and you favor them and you connect with them as well. And with myself, I do reply to every single DM, even if it takes me a couple of days, but I'm really, really good at staying connected with my community on Instagram. Okay, you can also find my YouTube channel at That Cuban Girl, and so on. And yeah, another reminder and announcement is I am going to be showing my gratitude to my top gifters of the stream by making my top gifter a bouncer at the very end of the show. So make sure you stay all the way through the show, because that is going to be happening. I am blessed and happy to have now added a few bouncers every single week to my bouncing family. And the other announcement I have is the way that the show is going to be run is the following. Okay, we're going to be having my first guest. Then I'm gonna be giving you guys the quote of the day. Then I'm going to be bringing on my second guest, and then after that, the tip of the day. And then I am going to be bringing both of my guests in the box at the very end of the show, so we can all together do a little video for social media and just final thoughts. If there's anything they want to plug in, you guys can know about that. So it's very important that you guys all support and stay throughout the show, okay? And today's topic of the show, it's very, very awesome, because I figured what better way to have a show with two people that are on the spectrum than making that the topic. And no, that is not just everything they are. But I do think it's important for people that are tuning into the show to also see that, you know, we can all be part of this online community even if we have any kind of disability. I've had guests in the past like Charlie, Charm Charlie, who also has a disability, and I love talking to guests like that because that inspires everybody. That helps everybody see like, hey, I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to be Instagrammy to be a streamer, to be a public figure, or to make my dreams and my goals a reality. So that's why I thought it would be great to make the topic for the day how we can own living on the spectrum. And I know nothing about this, so I am going to let my guests take the lead with this topic and kind of tell us a little bit about what that's like and how they do it. But before I welcome my first guest, please, I want to remind you that I see all the love, the support, the hearts, etc. I see it all. And if I don't address you directly right away, it's just because I want to give my guests the respect to listening to them, right? But welcome, welcome, welcome to Own It. This is Own It with That Cuban Girl. I am that Cuban girl. And the purpose of the show is to help you own who you are and own the uniqueness of who you are. And I do that by having two guests every single week who are very different than me, right? And if you cannot relate to me, you can at least relate to them, and we all can have beautiful, wonderful, inspiring conversations. So without further ado, I am going to be welcoming, yeah, thanks Marcus for being here. I'm going to be welcoming Papa Bear. Welcome, Papa Bear, to the show.
Hi, thank you.
How are you? I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know it's been a while. That phrase always confuses me. Haven't seen you in a minute, and I'm like, but wait, a minute's short. What? No, it means a long time.
It
Yeah,
does.
yeah,
Is that the millennial talk, right?
yeah. I've got a younger, I've got a 20-year-old, so he keeps me up to date on most of the lingo. So, and that
What is,
lingo isn't really a lingo thing now. So yeah,
yeah, well, it's so great to see you, Papa Bear. I love that you're here. I know we talked last time on the show before it was featured. Um,
yeah,
and I just want to say thank you so much for agreeing to being on the show again. I am doing my best to bring everyone back who helped me get featured, of course, and so we can all promote each other and express ourselves. And I feel like that's the main goal of a feature show, right? To like bring the community together.
yeah. I would agree. And
Yeah.
get diamonds. I'm kidding.
Well, that's part of it. By the way, everybody, please go favor Papa Bear. He's amazing. He does music, but I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, Papa Bear.
Okay, well, some of it you talked about already. I am on the autistic spectrum. It's this much of who I am. I'm also, have ADHD, and I have, let's see, I'm a dad of two kids, and what else? I'm a musician. I'm a theater guy. I am, the oddest part is part of my background is being a communications instructor, communication, interpersonal communications, and public speaking, which seems really weird for someone who's on the autistic spectrum. I'll probably do a little just blurb about what the spectrum is from my perspective, um, because it's one of those things that not everybody gets it. I had somebody in a show that I was in, because I kept saying, well, I just got to wrap my little autistic mind around that idea or that topic or whatever, for a theater show I was in. And one day this guy comes up and goes, wait, but why do you keep saying you're autistic? I'm like, because I am. And he's like, no, you're not autistic. I'm like, I actually am. I'm on the spectrum. Wow, you don't look like you're autistic. I'm like, and it was so weird because it was a show about diversity and respect and discrimination, and to have somebody who I would think would be very understanding not get that, autism can have a lot of different faces. And that's a big part of it. Is I didn't even know I was autistic until I was about 10 years ago, probably. My son was diagnosed at 5, and then at some point I noticed um, I noticed that he was very much like me. He would nap like me. He would walk. I mean, everything he did was like a little miniature me. And I was like thinking, wow, he's just like me at that age. He's just like me at that age. Oh my gosh, my son who's autistic is just like I was at that age. Huh. So I got evaluated, and the doc was great. The doc, I'm sitting there, and he's like, so tell me about yourself. And he's writing down stuff. He goes, oh, what do you do? I said, well, I teach. Where do you teach? At a college. Okay. What do you teach? I said, interpersonal communications and public speaking. And he went, and I laughed. And I said, yeah, I get it. It doesn't make sense, because one of the principal symptoms of autism or being on the spectrum is a language or communication barrier.
So I want
Yeah,
to interrupt real quick
yeah, yeah,
because,
yeah.
I don't know a lot purposely. I don't know a lot about this because I wanted to hear from you guys. But so when you're in the spectrum, on the spectrum, like, how did you find that you were, and how does that make you different? Because me talking to you, if you didn't mention that to me, I also could have never been able to tell.
Yeah, and that's one of the tricky things, is because like I was saying, I didn't even think about it as a thing, even though my son was on the spectrum, until I noticed how similar he was to I was at that age. And I figured, um, yeah, and that's actually really insulting, the person who just said whatever they said. I'm not going to comment on it, uh, but my son, because I noticed some of the early symptoms with him, like he'd walk on the balls of his feet, and he'd do, like little things like self-stimulation with his hands, and he'd twirl. And there's things he did that went, we got him evaluated. Yes, he was on the spectrum. And it wasn't until years later that when I noticed the similarities that I went, oh my gosh, I might be on the spectrum, got evaluated. The biggest thing I got out of it was a lot of the confusing parts of my life made more sense, because with being on the spectrum is sometimes, again, one of the key phrases in the autistic community is, if you've met one person on the spectrum, you've met one person on the spectrum. That there's no, autistic people are like this. We're all different. And but a lot of the situations I had in my life made more sense through through the filter of being on the spectrum. So I was able to look back at my life and see it in better perspective with the diagnosis. And then I was also able then to map out different choices for the future, keeping in mind, some of the limitations or the difficulties I had because of the autism. And so there's certain things, there's sensory issues are often part of it, communication issues, inability to read facial expressions at times, sometimes recognizing faces can be a problem. So there's all these different criteria. There's like all these different criteria that are part of being autistic, and to be evaluated as being on the spectrum, you had to meet, X many categories. It's kind of like ordering sushi. I want 3 from this column, 4 from this column, and 2 from this column. And if you order, if there's enough boxes checked off, you fall into somewhere along the spectrum. It used to be PDD, NOS, which was pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified. Then there was what was considered Asperger's, and then there was classic autism, what most people think of when they think of autism. And then that's all been changed, and Asperger's technically isn't even a thing anymore, but I would classify myself as Asperger's still. And so yeah, there's a lot of sensitivity issues can be a problem. If I'm on the stream, I'm gonna have headphones, I'm in someone's guest box, there'll be times I have to, step out or turn the volume down. I can't hear everybody because I'm turned so low because somebody in the box is making noise, chopping something or moving stuff around, and there's all sorts of noises. So
That's
part of, yeah.
I know, I was just gonna say that's amazing that you're able to now recognize the things and be aware of them, right?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been helpful, and it's still, it's persistent. So part of it's not like something where, well, with enough practice, it'll go away. No, with enough practice, it's easier to adjust. But a lot of us who, especially those of us who weren't diagnosed till later in life, have spent most of our lives learning how to mask our symptoms and finding ways to, close down parts of ourselves, because like I got really cut off at times, or I'd have to figure out how to deal with the anger I had because the frustration of not understanding why. And again, I know you're not trying to be disrespectful to the person in the stream who's saying trying to be normal. There's no normal. You're not normal. I'm not normal. There is no normal. But trying to appear, the phrase that's preferred often in the autistic community is neurotypical, would be someone who's not on the spectrum, who doesn't have some sort of neurological condition. Uh, and then someone who's autistic would be on the spectrum. So rather than using normal or not normal, in fact, what I used to do with my son's classes when he was in grade school, I would go, we'd find an afternoon and work it out with the teacher, and I'd show up with him. I mean, I'd show up in the class, and he'd come up in front with me, and all the classmates would be at the, sitting around, and we talk about what is autism. I said, Oliver, my son is on the autistic spectrum, and a lot of people don't know what that is or what that means, or they either, oh, we don't get it, we're gonna ignore it, or oh my gosh, this problem. It's like, so we just talked, and what we came down to with most of the time was just, there's some sensory issues. There's same things that we all face. Like, I'll talk about things that are part of autism. People are like, oh, I do that. Oh, I have that. And everybody has some of these same symptoms. But it just kind of depends on the extent, how intense they are, and how much they impact your day-to-day life. And so we'd end up each talk pretty much with the same place of, so how do you treat someone with autism? Like everybody else, you ask them, if there's something that you don't understand, ask them politely, hey, I don't understand this. Can you answer it for me? You accommodate when you can. So the same things we'd want to have, anybody would want to have done, that's what you do to deal with someone who's on the autistic spectrum.
Yeah. So I wanna take a quick pause to welcome everybody to the stream. I see that a bunch of you guys have joined. Thank you so much for being here. This is Own It. This is Own It, your featured hour every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, with me, that Cuban girl. This happens every single week, and I am excited to invite you back every Tuesday. We have these amazing conversations with my guests. I always have two wonderful guests who share their stories, their struggles, their inspiration, their experience, their tips on streaming, and how we can overcome the things that we might think that they're negative about us, but we can still own them and celebrate and own the uniqueness of our being. That's why this show is called Own It, because we own exactly who we are. And today I have the pleasure of having two guests that are on the spectrum of autism. And this is actually something that makes them different, but it makes them unique. And they're here, they're streamers. This should be an inspiration for absolutely everybody at home. To know that we can overcome and be whoever we decide to be. And right now I'm talking to Papa Bear, who has given us an extensive explanation of what being on the spectrum really is. And I'm very grateful to you, Papa Bear, for explaining this, because in my experience, I always thought that someone with autism was, in my experience, because it's people that I've met that actually have trouble like with speech or with understanding, but I never like these levels and stages of autism where like you can actually, you know, I could never be able to tell that you had autism. Like, this for me is very new.
Yeah, and part of that is, like, people who know, who are familiar with autism and the spectrum, and have met a lot of people, will be like, oh yeah, I get that, when they deal with me. But yeah, for the general public, a lot of people, autism is Rain Man from the movie, which isn't even based on someone who was autistic. It was a different condition, but that's what people think of, is that idea. In fact, there was some movie, a documentary dealing with autism, or another movie that had somebody who was autistic, YouTube man, and it was someone who was classically autistic, couldn't speak, wouldn't make eye contact, acted out a lot. And my son watched it, and he heard them talking about him having autism, and he knew that that they're describing something that's also used to describe him. And he was really confused for a long time, because he's like, that's not me, but they said that he's like me, but he's not like me. And then we talked about it, and he's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And
Yeah, I
anyway.
love that you're making the distinction. And I want to jump into, by the way, Ash, thank you so much for your question. I want to invite you guys to write questions and comments, questions in the comment box. And, if there's time, I will address them and, talk to them with the guests. And Ash earlier was asking, let me go back to the question if I can find it. But it was something along the, oh, she says, she's asking, what would you say ultimately helped you overcome those challenges? And I want to add to that question, like, what helped you overcome those challenges and help you translate those into your streaming world?
Okay, overcome the challenges. Part of it, the biggest part would be being diagnosed on being on the spectrum. And once I was able to have that diagnosis, at that point, what usually happens, one of two things: either someone embraces that, oh, this is who I am, this is part of who I am, and I'm going to now look at ways to deal with it, or, oh no, and I have this big problem, I can't deal with it, and it's too much. And thank you, Jay. And so it's that deciding point, and I decided to go for, how do we make life work with this better? And knowing those things made a lot of sense. And I became, um, vocal as an advocate on the spectrum and owning it. I mean, it's, you said something earlier. I'm gonna modify the way I would say it. Is proud of being on the spectrum. I'm not proud of being on the spectrum any more than I'm proud of being anything else that I had no control over. However, I do own it. I do use the gifts that it gives me, because it has gifts and it has downsides. There's both, and it's you got to find, you got to find that balance. There are aspects about it that are definitely, I make connections that other people might not make connections. Those connections that are helpful, and then I miss stuff that's like, I had a I had a friend who told me just before she was moving, like, I don't know why you never asked me out. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Because I've been like dropping hints for like months and months, and you never ever asked me out. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? And I had no idea that this person was even interested in me. And it was interesting. And we'll just go with that. And so don't mind me, I'm just being a second here. And
Oh, it's okay.
no, I had someone who was in here come over to my stream, because I actually have a stream going right now telling people to come over here.
Oh,
And
I love that.
somebody who got removed from your stream came over to my stream,
It's okay. Just ignore
which I
it.
think was
I
funny.
wanna
So
I
yeah.
wanna welcome you guys to the stream. I wanna welcome you. This is Own It. This is your featured hour with me, that Cuban girl, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And right now I'm talking to Papa Bear and how he's owning the fact that he's on the spectrum. I do want to ask you to be respectful of the stream. If you're not respectful, I do have my bouncers on here. And Emoji J is doing a great job. So shout out to my admin Emoji J. And if you also want to be part of the show eventually in the upcoming weeks, please also message Emoji J and he'll add you to the guest roster. Is that the word, roster?
Roster, that's a good word for it.
There you go.
Roster, lineup. Yeah.
Lineup. You go.
Well, yeah, and going on with what you were just asking about, how did the diagnosis affect, a part of it's owning it and saying this is part of who I am, same as I am a cancer survivor. I am someone with ADHD. These are all things that, happened to me sort of, as opposed to being a dad, which was a choice, to be a dad. And then being a good dad was another choice. But yeah, it's really comes down to being authentic. And it's the hardest thing is, I spent a long time growing up trying to like avoid landmines, social landmines, by really being a people pleaser. And yeah, how can I help? How can I help? And doing all this stuff to help people. And there's a benefit to reaching out and helping, but then there's a point where if that goes too far, speaking of spectrums, there's like a spectrum of self-care and other care. And if we're at either end of that, it gets difficult. If I'm way over here on other care, taking care of others, then I'm going to be missing what I need to take care of myself. And if I'm too focused on myself and I'm not willing to help others or share or be generous, then I'm out of balance that way. So it's about finding balance for me.
Is that what you would say that helps you own who you are, especially being a streamer, being a dad, all these things?
Yeah, well, it's getting there. It's taken me a long time, and I'm still learning the lesson. I still find myself falling in that trap of being over generous and then having to say, wait a minute, I gotta take care of myself and finding that balance between taking care of others and taking care of myself. Because, my kids are both adults now. That doesn't mean they're completely out of the nest. My son is actually home right now on break from college, and then he will be going back in a week. But so, he'll still be like, oh, Dad, I need to borrow the car. Or, Dad, can you help me with this? Dad, can you help me with that? And my stepdaughter, same thing. And so it's finding that balance between, yeah, again, I don't know how else to put it, self and other. And this app just gives me a greater opportunity, a different sort of opportunity to work on that balance, because I'm meeting people from all over as opposed to just those that I physically come in contact with. So now I
100%.
got yeah, so now I got people all over the world that I'm in contact with, which just makes it so much easier or more of a challenge if my habitual pattern is to give, help, be there, caretake. Well, now I've just expanded my potential pool of people who need help,
Yeah.
but taking care of myself is still kind of the same. So it kind of intensifies the challenge that I face of taking care of myself.
And that's ultimately, that's the most important thing, right? To take care of ourselves, own who we are, and keep learning and growing in this wild ride that we call life, right? That's
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd say it's similar to, like, I love what the analogy I've heard is like when you get on an airplane, they say, if you're traveling with children and we lose cabin pressure, the oxygen bands will come down. If you're traveling with small children, put yours on first, because you're no good to your kids. You won't be able to help them if you're not able to breathe. So it seems counterintuitive, as a parent, it's like, no, I want to take care of my kids first. But I know that unless I take care of myself, like, part of me know, part of me knows that I have to take care of myself first. But I've, decades of practice at taking care of others,
definitely,
decades. So
yeah.
it's still a challenge. There's some days I do better and some days I don't.
And that's just life. But Papa Bear, I want to thank you so much for being here. I am going to be bringing you back in the box at the
Yep,
end of the show.
I'll be
So, because
here.
I feel like I could talk to you forever. But I have to have Dart in the box as well. But I will be seeing you in a little bit. Everybody, please go favorite Papa Bear. Make sure that you're in tune with his streams. He has wonderful music. But I'm going to be seeing you in just a few minutes. Okay.
Yep,
Thank you for being here.
sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, my love. So, welcome to Own It. If you're just tuning into the show, hello, welcome, welcome, and thank you so much for being here. Thank you for accompanying me in this featured hour that makes me so happy and I'm so proud of. This happens every single Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. 2 p.m. Pacific time, exclusively here on the Meet Me platform. And this is Own It. This is the show where me, that Cuban girl, I bring to you tips and tools that I have learned in the 10 years of being in the entertainment industry to you to hopefully help you become the better version of yourself, to help you become better hosts, but to help you brand yourself better or market yourself better. And everything is with the intention of owning who we are. I have every single Tuesday two wonderful guests who join the box and share their stories, their streaming stories, their struggles, their inspiration, everything that helps them own who they are. And my intention with the show is to share not just tips and tools, but also inspiration and positivity. And hopefully, you leave this featured hour every Tuesday feeling a little bit more uplifted and feeling like you're part of a safe place, a safe community, a safe space where you can truly just ask questions in the comment box and be heard. And I want to invite you all to connect with me outside of here. Connect with me on Instagram, connect with me on YouTube at That Cuban Girl. My Instagram is linked to my Meet Me profile, so it's just a click away. I do my best to answer every single DM, even if it takes me a couple of days. That's okay. Our community is growing, so a lot of times I have so many DMs flowing, but I do my best to get to check my hidden my hidden folders and get back to every single one of you, because I truly want to connect with you. And please, if you have any feedback for the show, any ideas, also write them to me on the DMs as well. I want to give a shout out to both of my guests today, Papa Bear, who I just spoke with, and Dar, who's going to be coming up in the box just shortly in a few minutes. And I also want to give a shout out to my admin, Emoji J, because he does such a wonderful job every single week here on Own It. If you want to be a guest on the show, make sure to message Emoji J, and he's going to put you in the guest list for the upcoming weeks of the show. Another announcement I have for you is every single Tuesday here on Own It. Thank you, Nemo. Every single Tuesday, I give thanks to my top gifter by making them a bouncer for the week. And if I like you, if you're cool, if you're respectful, then you get to stay in the bouncer community, like my community, as a bouncer forever, indefinitely. But we do the first week just for me to say thank you to you for supporting the show, supporting the stream, supporting the guests. So please make sure that you favor the guests, you give them love, you show them love. Another thing I do want to bring up is please be respectful. I do have bouncers on here, but be respectful of the stream. This is a show about inspiration and positivity only, okay? And last but not least, please make sure that you stay all throughout the end of the show, because we still have coming up the quote of the day, my second guest, the tip of the day, and I'm going to be bringing back both my guests for final thoughts and things that we want to continue to talk about. Today's topic is very awesome because it's something that is completely out of my comfort zone, because I don't personally know about it. And I love that, because I love to have my guests truly put themselves out there and express themselves, and for you guys to really get to know them. And today's topic is how we can own living on the spectrum. The reason I made that the topic for the day is because both my guests are on the spectrum, and I love the fact that they're both streamers, they're very loved in the community, and they are truly owning who they are. So without further ado, I am going to share the quote of the day. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I love writing. It's always been a passion of mine since I was a little girl. So the quote for today, and it's the first time I write a quote, but I wrote it because it kind of just came to me when I was meditating before the show. And it goes, "Our limitations don't define us, only we do." So our limitation do not define us, only we do. So it doesn't matter what kind of limitations we have, only you can limit yourself in your life. And I love connecting with people on here that have very different life experiences and upbringings. And because of that, because I feel like if you're a streamer, um, you have not let your life define who you are. And that's why I love this community so much, so much more even than Hollywood, if I must say. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I see all of your comments, all the love, the support, the gifts. And I do want to remind you, please write in the comments, because if you have questions, I will address them if it has to do with the topic for the show. Okay. So without further ado, I want to welcome a streamer, somebody who's very loved in the community. He's been a streamer for about 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. He goes by Dar, aka Mr. 515. He's also been my guest previously before the show was featured, and I'm very grateful that he has given me his time, just as Papa Bear has, to be here on the show and to share his experiences. So let's welcome Dar to the show.
Hi.
Hi, Dar. Long time no see.
I know, ever since what, the pilot episode that we've done?
No, I just saw you yesterday at Legend Show.
Well, that too, but
Yeah. No,
But
Dar has become a friend, a dear friend on the stream. We've seen each other a couple times in another one of our friends' show. By the way, just shout out to Legend Show, Epicted, that happens every Monday here at 11 p.m. Eastern time. So I just saw Dar last night on the show because you won the show. Congratulations.
thank you.
So Dar, I know I've talked to you before, but I just, it's a feature show, it's a new show. There's new people on here.
Mhm.
So introduce yourself a little bit.
Yeah, so my name is Mr. 505 Dar. I've been on the Meet Me Out for a little over 5 years. I hit my 5-year mark on November 18th of 2017. Been here for a while. I had a original account, my first account, then decided to make another account. So I had this account for about it's going to be 5 years. Then my other account was just like a little over a year old from there. So been doing my own thing, creating my own brand of the name and whatnot. Like I said, very well known. If when people say Dar, they're just like, oh, I know him, then usually it goes through the grapevine pretty well.
Mr. Dar. It's funny because I always knew you as Mr. 515, and then I
Mm-hmm.
just found out your name was Dar, like maybe like 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I was like, oh, it's Dar. Okay.
Yeah, so people can call me 515, Mr. 515, 515, Dar, Mr. Dar. It's a good mix. So
I think I told you before. That's actually my birthday, 515.
I think you did, but I can't remember.
Yep, May 15th. That's my birthday. So I would never forget your username just because of that. Dar, so today we're talking about being on the spectrum. Of course, you can always talk about whatever you want to talk about, but I feel like it's important to
Mhm.
create awareness, especially here in the online community, because there are a lot of like stereotypes and assumptions about, who can be a streamer, who cannot be a streamer. And like, I love the fact that you both share the same, the same thing, which is being on the spectrum. So like, for you, what does being on the spectrum mean, and how have you been able to kind of embrace that and bring it to your streaming?
So just a little bit history of how I got on the spectrum and that kind of stuff. So I didn't get properly diagnosed till like I was like 9. So when I was younger, I didn't know about it, but when I was young, 9, they had to do like evaluations and that kind of stuff to see is it more milder than it is, or is it still progressing in a way. So I didn't get properly diagnosed till I was 9. But when I was younger, I was doing sensory therapy, speech therapy, um, hearing therapy, apparently, because I had like they had to like put tubes in my ears and everything from there. I didn't like start like actually talking, speaking till I was like almost like 1 or 2 in a way. So more like some words and that kind of stuff. Uh, like I said, speech therapy, mainly like my T's, my Z's, my R's, my S's. Um, I had to do like writing and that kind of stuff. So I had a therapist that come home and we were doing like, if I can remember right, like they have like this electronic board and that kind of stuff, and I was pressing on stuff since I couldn't talk in a way, but they were also doing a writing thing. So it was like this Play-Doh looking mat that they had and this pen, and they were like helping me like write in a way. So some people write this, I have to go like this. So I usually have my like, do I have a example? Yeah. So I usually write like this, while like other people's write like this and this, because this is a little bit comfortable in a way, but I can still write normally. Now it'll look like chicken scratch like no other, but you got to like decipher it in a way with some of my letterings. But growing but growing up, being on the spectrum of what and everything, been in band choir my middle school and high school year, did that throughout my whole entire year through that. Then got evaluated from when I was 18. They had to do the evaluation and whatnot, and they asked me, it's like, well, did you do any activities in high school, or are you doing any activities? I'm like, I'm in band and choir, and they and I love it how they write it down. They looked at their notes, they're looking at me, I'm looking right in their eyes, they're looking at the notes again. It's like, I have never seen someone progress that quick.
Wow.
because they said with me being like band and choir and everything like that helped me like perceive everything in a way. So they said that it because when I was younger, it was kind of like that severe, like didn't want to talk and do like words and that kind of stuff. And sometimes there were like hand gestures and whatnot. Do everything. It's like a more focus and whatnot. But there was like social cues and like I still couldn't face in a way. Like sometimes if I'm like talking to someone, I kind of look towards the side, but I'm still like kind of hearing them in a way, or like I'm doing right now, kind of stutter because sometimes my brain processes a little bit faster than normal that I experience. So it's like I had to like slow down to think like or try to catch up because here's how I think of it. Your brain has wires, right? So each portion is like the plug in the wire and everything. Now with my brain, it could be one wire connected into a different socket, or I'm missing a wire, so it's like you gotta like do like a double thing, or you gotta like split the wire and trying to connect it to the other wire. It's just how my brain works. So I in my when I'm thinking about it is people are like wired differently in a way, but it's also to the point like people who are also on the spectrum, like very famous people. There's like famous comedians. There's artists, singers, painters. There's an example, Elon Musk, one of the biggest guys that transferred the electric car industry in a way too, and creating all these things in a way. It's just how we're wired, and all of us are wired differently, but also creating something brand new in our mind.
I have a close friend of mine who's neurodivergent, and he's one of the smartest people that I've ever met. And he also has like social like issues with social cues and things like that, but he is extremely smart, and I admire him so much. And I feel like there's such a big stereotype, and I love bringing awareness with this show to everyone at home, because I feel like it's important for people to understand that autism is not usually what people think it is. And if you're able to own it, then that makes you even more prone to reach your goals and your dreams, in my experience.
Exactly. And and also it's like you're kind of like standing out, but you're also being in the mix of other people in a way too. So let's say you're like, here's a good example. You're you're like that one single little flower in the field, right? And there's like a whole bunch of other white flowers, but you're wanting to be that white flower. So you got like a little spot on you and that kind of stuff. You're still blending in, and they're not going to look at you kind of differently in a way, because it's one of the things. It's like you're kind of a little bit harder to find since you got like 100 white flowers, and there's that one yellow flower that nobody noticed because all they see is that white flower. So we're all there mixed as um, people within the daily society.
No, and I love those analogies. And I want to take a quick pause and welcome everybody who's just tuning into the stream. I see you all. I'm reading all of your beautiful comments. I appreciate you all for being here so much. All the hearts, the gifts, the favorites. Please make sure that you also favor my guests and that you give them love and show up to their streams. They are both amazing people. I've actually known them since I started streaming on here a few months ago. So I've had the pleasure of spending time with them on the streams. Thank you so much for showing them love. I do want to I want to let you guys know that we are talking today about how we can own living on the spectrum because they're both on the spectrum. And I love the fact that they are. And I want to remind you guys to stay all the way to the end of the show, because whoever is the top gifter of the stream will become one of my bouncers and will become part of this amazing community that I'm trying to build here. Thank you so much that I'm trying to build here on the Meet Me community. I am very grateful that you guys give me the opportunity every single Tuesday to spend time and share space with you guys, and for my beautiful guests to to give me their time as well to be here. So please just go and support them as well. Dar, I love hearing your story. And I want to do something that I've actually never done before. I know this is the part of the show where I'm supposed to give the tip of the day, but to be honest with you, I don't feel like it should be me giving any tips today about what we're talking about, because I'm not the expert, right? Like you guys are. So if you don't mind, I would like to invite Papa Bear back in the box, so you guys can give people tips about how, let me invite him back, how if somebody, oh wait, Papa Bear, can you please request it again, because I'm on the PC. Thank you. Canceling and request it again, please. Yeah, I would like for you guys to give tips to whoever is listening here today, like if they have any kind of disability or if they're on the spectrum, how they can take that and own that and bring it into their, becoming a streamer, or give an inspiration on kind of just sharing people how to become better through that.
Right.
Okay.
You guys, the
Can I?
floor.
Yeah. Can I want to share one quick thing though. Dar made me think about when we talked about wiring. Is one thing I've discovered about folks, a lot of us on the spectrum, is there's this idea that people on the spectrum, because of the lack of eye contact and the lack of communication, is that they can't be empathic, they can't be empathetic, that there's this disconnect, when the reality seems to be more like that we're stripped wires. We are wires that are stripped, and we get too much information. There's too much info coming in, so we really have to shut out just to find peace. There's a lot of just like, yeah, it's too much, and so we pull back. But that's just one thing. But to go on with the suggestion for people with disabilities, my first thought is make sure you got a support system. Whatever your disability or ability, whatever your challenges in life is, make sure you've got people who support you and have your back.
I love that.
Yeah, that that's actually a really good one, because it definitely with the support system, because not only with someone who's on, if you know someone that's on the spectrum, but it doesn't have to be on the spectrum. There could be other people that have mental health problems with mental health or disability. So you always want to try to check up on them, because even though sometimes they look okay and that kind of stuff, they're not okay. There's some people that are struggling, like on top of mine, anxiety and depression. Like I hit the lowest of lows on depression a couple years ago, and it was not fun whatsoever. I shut myself up and everything like that. And usually once you shut yourself off, you don't try to communicate with someone. So, but I think in a way, and another tip is that, and I usually say this a lot. We want to be like everyone else is. So treat us how you treat other people in a way too. Don't give us like the special treatment, because some people will give them like the special treatment in a way, and we're over here going like, I don't want that. I'm just doing my normal thing.
Yeah, you mean the voice? Dar. Now,
Yeah,
I know this is difficult for you to understand sometimes, but yeah, don't be patronizing.
People actually do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now I've seen people do that with others, and I'm over here going like, don't do that. Like we're not pets or someone or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
true.
mean,
I mean,
nobody wants to feel like they're different. Like we all want to be included and not be treated like we have some sort of like, you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. And I would change that a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that nobody wants to be treated different, because we're all different, we're all unique. Nobody wants to be treated less than.
I love that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Is how I would put it. This is where my decades and decades of studying communication, because, and the only reason I studied it was because I didn't get it. That's what I told the doc when I got evaluated. It was like I was super confused by communication. I didn't understand why I could say X, Y, and Z and get in trouble, but this other person could say X, Y, and Z and it was okay. It'd be like they're almost the exact same sentences, similar situations, but one time it was bad and the other time it wasn't, because there's other things that I was missing. And so a lot of work, and I still, mess up on it, but yeah, treat people like, yeah. Oh, the other thing I want to just clarify too is like, I did this. I was in a show about disabilities decades ago, and one of the things we talked about was the difference between disability and handicap. That a disability just means something that you can't do, that you are not able to do. A handicap is something that gets in the way of accomplishing. So you can have an ability that's a handicap or a disability that's a handicap. And the example used in the show was a hearing person and a deaf person. They're roommates, and there's loud music going on in the apartment next door. They're both trying to study. The hearing person's like going, "Oh my God, I can't, there's too much noise." And the deaf person turned off their hearing aids and they're studying away. They're not having a problem. So the noise was a problem for the hearing person who didn't have the disability. The disability wasn't a handicap, the hearing was, because it got in the way of doing what you wanted to do.
Yeah, and I love that you're making the distinction. And I don't think I've ever opened up about this on here on the stream, but this is why I love this community, because it helps us be all vulnerable, right? My mom is handicapped. My mom's actually had polio since she was 3 years old, and she doesn't know a life without a brace in her leg. And so, even though I'm not handicapped, I have always had to experience that secondhand from other people, especially being a little kid, being with my mom who had a clear disability, or who was can't handicapped. And people do treat those people differently, and it is ugly, to be honest. Like, it just feels, even me not having it, but watching my mom have to go through that, it's painful, it's hurtful, because we should never be treated in a negative way just because we're different, right? And I think I'm also grateful for that, because I think because of that upbringing, I'm able to have so much empathy towards other people and compassion. And I think it's important that we help other people, like, we understand and we treat people with compassion and kindness always.
Yeah, and just again, because this is my little bug, there's a stereotype that people on the spectrum or autistic people have, like, oh, what's your special ability? And it's not a thing. Some people do have uniqueness about them that rivals. They can remember long lists of things and they can track all sorts of different stuff. That's not what this is. But one of my little things that I focus on, right, is communication. And even with your mom isn't handicapped. Your mom has a disability. Sometimes that will present a handicap, or she'll be handicapped by her disability. But just for the language is that we have abilities, we have disabilities. Sometimes those handicap us, sometimes they don't. But I'm not handicapped, although I have a disability. There are times my disability is a benefit, and there are times it's definitely, like, I have a physical disability with my knee, so I have a cane, I have a handicapped parking placard, but I'm not handicapped. I do have a disability.
And I love that distinction. What would you say to somebody, Papa Bear, that, maybe somebody on the stream? By the way, welcome guys to the stream. If you're just tuning in, I'm seeing all of the beautiful, wonderful comments. I love how much interaction we're getting every week on the show. That makes me really, really happy that all of you guys are here. And welcome. This is Own It. We are reaching the last few minutes of the featured hour. But we can stay here if, as long as we want. I don't mind. So welcome to Own It with me, that Cuban girl. And in Own It, what we do is every single Tuesday, I have two beautiful, wonderful guests who share their stories with the intention of helping all of us together as a collective own who we are, own the uniqueness of who we are, and what makes us become the best version of ourselves. Of course, this is all about the live streaming community. So I try to always tie up the topic of the day with streaming as well, because this is what we're building, right? The streaming community. But even if you're not a streamer, my intention with the show is that you can feel welcome, safe, and that you can ultimately connect with all of us and help us, grow our community. So welcome to Own It, and thank you for all the love and support. One last reminder before the end of the show, I am going to be showing appreciation to my top gifter of the stream and making that person my bouncer for the week. And if we vibe and you're respectful, you might stay being my bouncer for forever. I don't mind. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. Welcome back, Dar.
Welcome back.
Sorry, I had to do something real quick. I'm like, be right
No,
back.
it's all good.
You're
Yeah,
good.
no, it gave her lots of time to catch up on Hello Legend stuff. And the other thing I was going to say is, where's I going with this? With the streaming and talking about it, communication is really so crucial. Like with when I have bosses, one of the things I talk about early on is that I'm on the spectrum, and what are some of the accommodations that benefit me and will benefit them. So they're seeing that this isn't just a burden. Like I I tend to be very chatty Cathy at times. Sorry, that's actually not a great phrase to use, but I'll talk a lot. And so I'll notify my boss, like, hey, if I get to be too talky, you can just say something like, great, can't hear anymore right now, gotta go. Just tell me this phrase, and you don't have to worry about hurting my feelings, because I know that I'm just, unless it's really important, I'll just be like, oh, okay, catch you later, go. But I will talk their ear off as long as they're standing there and listen to it.
I personally love that. I love having guests on the show that talk, because I've always said it. The show is not about me. The show is about you and about the community and like all of us. So if you talk, I love that. Please. I also love listening. I think I'm actually a pretty good listener. So I actually truly enjoy listening to people and learning from people's different perspectives. I want to give a quick shout out to the fam. The fam is here. To shout out to Legend. By the way, Legend has a feature show every Monday at 11 p.m. Eastern time. Shout out to Smiles and Marcus and Emoji J, Charm Charlie, my fam who are here. I appreciate you all being here and supporting the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys. So yeah, anything else that you wanna tell people on here? When it comes to like build, even first of all, let me ask you before we go, how did you both decide to be streamers? Like, because for a lot of people out there, like especially me, who I've experienced the entertainment industry in Hollywood and all that stuff, like there's a big
Mhm.
misconception that certain people, certain types of people like are not like TV or whatever. So what would you say to somebody who's trying to be a public figure, an online streamer, but they feel like maybe they can't because they have autism or because they have any other kind of disability?
I'd say go to Dar's stream, go to my stream, go to Charlie's stream, Charm Charlie. Uh, there's so many people who have abilities and disabilities here. I would avoid let go of that distinction, each person when they're evaluating. It really comes down to, does this feel like a good match for you? Again, going back to being authentic. For some
Mhm.
people, the idea of streaming terrifies them because they feel like they're shy or whatever the reason is, then don't. But if you feel called to do it, give it a shot. Watch streams, see what people do that have popular streams, or streams you like, and then borrow some of that, use some of that, find your own uniqueness, and get out there. If you can be a guest on a show, featured shows are great. If you can get on them, reach out to people like Emoji J and say, hey, I want to be on a show, here's who I am. And some of the different game shows or other interview type shows, get in there, get to know people, build a support network. There you go.
I love
Yeah, I
that.
totally agree on that. And I think if you ever decide to stream, or yeah, if you ever decide to stream, and if you hit that button for the first time, take a deep breath, then just let the magic happen and and literally be yourself. Show them what personality you have in a way, and try and connect with the people also. Because once I started on here, I had no idea what I was doing. I only downloaded this app because I was trying to find a girlfriend at the time, but that's a different story. But once I saw it, I went head first, didn't even check any other stream, and just went from there.
Yeah, and I got my started because I joined POF as a dating app years ago, and then wasn't finding much success with it. So I just kind of gave up for a while, and then a few years ago, I got after a flu shot, my body reacted negatively and developed chronic pain syndrome. So for about 8 months, I couldn't play guitar, I couldn't play drums. The things that I loved doing were now no longer open to me. And but part of the treatment therapy is to do things you enjoy doing. So I got back into doing Lego, which I did with my kids, and so I started getting back into Lego. And then at one point, I just happened to open up POF again, and I saw this live thing. I was like, I have no idea what this is. So I'm like, looking on live, and it's like it's just people talking uh, about their lives, about stuff. So I started, listening, and then I sometimes pop into a box and chat with people because it seemed like they were fun people. And they noticed that I have a guitar in my profile picture. Like, oh, you play guitar? I'm like, oh yeah, I do. Oh, come on in, play a song for us. So I started singing, and I do a little bit at a time, and it helped me. It gave me a purpose. It wasn't just playing guitar because, I, for me, it was reaching out and making a connection with other people. I find that connecting with other people helps me with the pain. Like I could walk farther with my dog if I'm walking with a friend than if I walk by myself, because it's no longer I'm walking my
Right.
dog. It's I'm hanging out with a friend. I'm socializing. So the social aspect has been great. So if you can find a way to get that benefit from the app, more power to you.
I love that. Thank you both for the tips. And please plug in your shows, your streams, anything you have going on.
Yeah, so I stream almost close to almost every week. I usually take breaks. Oh yeah, by the way, take breaks, y'all. Trust me, it'll help you in the long run. But I usually stream around 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do song requests Mondays, so I didn't do it this Monday because football. But I do song requests Mondays around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But thank you for having me. I'm going to go eat.
Oh wait, this is the glasses part of the show. Okay, I didn't know that.
Thank you, Dar, for being here. You've been amazing. I appreciate you.
So yeah, I was gonna say, piggyback on what he said about breaks is you're gonna take breaks. Now you can choose to take breaks on your time schedule, or the universe will line them up for you. Sometimes we get sideswiped about life because we needed a break, and the universe just kind of says, "Okay, boop, now you get to take a break. Next time, if you want to choose it on your time, go ahead." But we took care of it this time. So things I'm doing this Thursday, so 2 days from now at 3 p.m. So third Thursdays at 3, I have an open mic on my stream, and that's 3 generally Central Time, which is where I'm at, but sometimes 3 Eastern. So 2 or 3 o'clock. I have an open mic every third Thursday. This Saturday, I'm doing Once Upon a Medge's show, and then every Saturday night, I do. Triple L has a show at it's 7 p.m. Eastern, and at the end of her show, I close out her show with some music. And what else? Then there's various other open mics I do, and I'm doing Guess the Gibberish next Monday night. So if you check out my Instagram, which is on my bio, it's papabear.mn. It's not Papa Bear Sings. Somebody else right there had that before I realized that. And yeah, check out my bio on Instagram. Tells most of what I got coming up in the near future.
Thank you, Papa Bear. I have loved having you back on the show. I want to say thank
It
you
was a
for
blast.
supporting the show. You're one of the OGs. You actually were on my show before my show was featured and gave me your time generously. Sorry, guys, my accent.
No,
So I'm
yeah.
very
Oh, you know what? Too, you are the first person. I've dropped a lot of those 500 mystery wheels. That golden buzzer was the first bonus I've ever gotten on that wheel.
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
thank you so
I've
much.
dropped a lot of them. Now I've gotten on other wheels. I've gotten good luck. I've managed a golden dragon and a lightning dragon, a ice dragon on other wheels and other sort of stuff. But this is the first time I got a bonus on that wheel, which is kind of like about time.
Congratulations on the bonus. And shout out to Marcus for screen shooting. And Marcus, send me that.
Thank you. Yeah, I may have gotten part of one. I don't remember what part of it at some point of it too. And well, and then yeah, Moody, and then that put me safely ahead of everybody else so far as your gifters. So
I love that. No, I love that because you're not my bouncer yet. So it makes me really
not yet.
excited. Yeah, it makes me really
Soon, soon.
excited. I know, I know, I know. So that brings me to, I do what I say I'm going to do. So with that said, I want to thank you, Papa Bear, for being here. And before you leave, I have to make you my bouncer because you are my top gifter of the stream today.
Thank
So
you.
you're joining, and I'm so excited it's you because I love you and you're amazing and I trust you and I'm so grateful. So without further ado, I am gonna be giving a shout out to the top gifters, but I want to make you the bouncer before. Hold on, give me a second here. I am on the PC. If anybody has a tip on how to get my account back on my phone, please do let me know because I am currently not able to stream on my phone anymore. But Papa Bear,
We'll talk offline, but yeah.
you're now my bouncer. Congratulations. Thank
Yay.
you so much. I so appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let's write something in red. Something.
Do it. Yay!
Yay!
There it is. I'm so excited. Thank you again for being here, Papa Bear. Thank you,
You're
daughter,
welcome.
in here as well. I really appreciate both of you. Everybody, please go favorite Papa Bear, go favorite Dar, go favorite Legend. Legend is my streaming BFF. I love him so much. He has a feature show every Monday at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. Pacific Time called Epicted. Shout out to my admin emoji J, to Marcus, to Smiles. I am so sorry if I'm forgetting anybody, but everybody who is part of the fam already, who's always on the show, and to the new ones, shout out to you. If you are just finding my stream, my profile, my show now, please, I want to say that I'm so grateful that you're here. And I want to invite you to come back every single Tuesday to Own It. Own It happens every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time, exclusively here on the live streaming community, whether you're a Meet Me, POF, or et cetera, et cetera. Thank you for being here again, for tuning in, for the favorites, for the hearts, for the gifts, for the favorites, and connecting to my guests as well. And, I do want to remind you to connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram is on my Meet Me profile, and to connect with me on YouTube at That Cuban Girl. And if you have any feedback, questions, ideas for the show, I am always an open book. I'm always open to listening to those. If you want to be a guest on the show, please contact my admin emoji J, who is in the comment box as we speak. And without further ado, thank you so much for being here. I am going to be seeing you in one of my private streams very soon, but if not, I'll see you next Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, so we can all own it. I love you guys.